Hell is Us is a strange game. On one hand it makes a lot of sense, and on the other it's strange and doesn't make any sense. Welcome to Hell is Us Madman no spoiler review. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, I had to abandon the game and the channel for a few days, so didn't get to finish it, but I did complete 2 out of 3 acts and have enough knowledge of the game to do a fair review. Read how the story ends because it is an interesting one. Played on PC for about 15 to 20 hours on Merciless difficulty. Due to those unforeseen circumstances and a couple other reasons, this review is going to be a shorter one. Hell is Us is a game of 2 parts, you creepy bastards. One very good part is the story, world, atmosphere, mystery, lore and investigative nature of the game. Main protagonist is Remy and he is sneaking into a secluded country called Hadia, where he left as a kid. It is a war-torn country between 2 factions taught from a young age to hate one another. Depiction of war throughout Hadia is fantastically done. Truly kudos to devs for going all out and not trying to do some censored version. All sorts of war atrocities are on display and it packs a punch. Very difficult not to evoke emotions and feelings for the people. There are NPC quests called Good Deeds, where players can interact with them and by giving appropriate items, finding more about their lives and how they are connected to Hadia. Brilliant way to inject NPC quests in such a way to deepen the connection with the world.
Alvin is really beside himself about it.
Story is one of mystery, as Remy doesn't have a clue who his parents are and the situation in his country of birth. So as we progress, we soon learn about the atrocities and new inclusion of ON Peacekeepers, a new faction, UN basically. They try their best but are fucked on all sides. Remy's goal is to start piecing things together about his parents, his country, strange entities plaguing Hadia, and secret society that fights against it. Awesome, very nicely constructed mystery plot with tons of puzzles and investigative work. Remy pieces things together by obtaining information and is rewarded with new information that progresses the plot or that leads to new clues and rewards. Investigative part and puzzles are nicely done. It's mostly connected to finding proper information in the world and then deciphering the clues. Puzzles are not difficult as solutions are connected to clues. Basically find clues and it's clear what needs to be done. So when the player is stuck, it's more about finding that next clue. Clues are usually nicely placed where it makes sense, so the player needs to pay attention. Skills of observation are on test with Hell is Us. Sometimes game does overcomplicate things for no reason, which can lead to tedious investigative parts though. Also a disappointing part for me were the vaults. Vaults grant really nice rewards, but to crack the code, research items need to be identified, and when the research threshold is reached, code is granted. A bit underwhelming, but it does make sense that codes are granted from research. Overall, lore, story, investigation parts are really good mostly, but the story does weaken and is unnecessarily prolonged at times. Same with investigations. Loses its appeal after a while, but overall good stuff.
When President Yanka blew his head off. That I managed to survive 2 years of this damn war. No parent should have to bury a child, despite all of it. I know we Palamists will win this war. We have Setharis on our side.
World of Hadia is divided by open world locations, and these locations are brilliant. Impressive attention to detail, beautiful sights full of mysterious locations. I'm impressed with how the world is done. Each location I've been to has so many things to explore and quite a bit of lore details. Quite a bit different too. However, at times, like in Legend, developers do like to take a piss and overcomplicate moving around with unnecessary blockades, but to give them credit too, they do install shortcuts that solve that problem to an extent. Overall, the world is at times incredible, especially aesthetically. Now we get to the second and the worst part, which is combat. It makes no sense for many reasons. First is the fact Remy picks up any weapon and becomes the world's best expert in it, just like that. Second is that visual effects in combat make no sense whatsoever with the world in question. I get that limbic weapons contain some kind of power, but suddenly doing area damage over time effects, pulling enemies in, using drone to do whirlwind attacks and similar stuff is way out there for what is a relatively realistic setting with a supernatural side that are the monsters. Monsters are really interesting and I like the design a lot, but there is a huge problem that there is only one monster type aesthetically with a couple versions of them. It's simply not enough. Very underwhelming, which affects the atmosphere. In a game that builds up the atmosphere through great music, sound effects, intrigue and mystery, one monster type makes the game predictable, which drags down the atmosphere. Predictability is a terrible thing for a game like Hell is Us that can shock with war atrocities, immerse players into the fantastic world with interesting lore and focus on the mystery and investigative part. Then in my opinion, what is the worst combat choice I have seen in a long time, and that is Key Pulse from Neo. But not only does it restore stamina, as it also restores health. This makes combat easy, tedious and just a basic attack spam. That one decision destroyed the combat. If you ever wondered what OP health leech builds do to a game, this is the best example. It removes any tactical element, need for special abilities, and makes combat encounters easy spams. There are some good things the combat does though. Enemy movements are solid, meaning they don't do some nonsensical instant recovery or cover stupid distances sliding across the floor. Hit feedback is good, sound effects are good, finishers are really nice too, dead bodies don't disappear, which I find really cool in games. Weapons do look very plastic though, which is a shame, but the weight of hits seems to be done right. So I have to say that combat is subpar overall, which it wouldn't be if it didn't use silly special attacks and visual effects in such a setting, and if it didn't have Key Pulse health restoration. Time for the final verdict. Hell is Us does some really good things that surprised me positively, but also some horrible decisions that were surprising as well. Realistic scores for Hell is Us are 5 and 6, meaning mediocre to decent game. It's subjective in the end, but based on what the game offers, realistic range would be just that. It starts off very interesting, but does become tedious as it goes on. That would be all. Patreon, subscribe, star merch in the description if you'd like to help the channel a bit more, and thanks for watching.